All right, we're here today with Kaylee, Felio from PartsEdge and April Simmons from the Horne Auto Group to talk about one of my favorite parts of the industry, and that's the back of the house, as we call it. I
I see
love
what you did. Parts of the industry. Well
parts.
played.
I wish I did that intentionally, but Kaylee, April, welcome.
Hey! Hey, thank you.
Kaylee, let's just talk about what PartsEdge is. I think a lot of people see you because of your podcast and may not know exactly what PartsEdge is or does. So give us the summary.
Yeah, that's a great question. We do a lot for, depending on the levels of parts managers, but overall, we are providing the ability to have more purposeful inventory management process. So what that means is selling more parts, being more efficient with what you're stocking, and just overall getting a bigger picture on the investment that you are making and how to make more profit with that. And really just supporting parts managers, because if you really look at their role and what they're doing a lot, and they need a tool really to help them. So that's where PartsEdge fills in.
Well, and historically in parts, you kind of like no tech really gets back there. There's like the DMS, what gets passed down from the OEM, but we don't really see a lot of specific tech that supports creating a more efficient landscape. April, as you're obviously on the marketing and internet side of the business, but it seems like you have a relationship with this, and a lot of times the marketer or the internet person is the first person that kind of finds out about the newest tech on the market. But why was it important for your group to kind of bring this and give it as a tool to the parts team?
It's interesting. I actually found out about it because typically general managers come from the variable side. We all kind of know that already.
Mhm.
Well, service directors actually come usually from the service department. So the parts managers typically are the ones that are just kind of on this island all by themselves, managing this massive amount of inventory, and nobody really knows how to manage them, hold them accountable, or even know whether they're doing a good job or not, to be quite frank, right? So during a time when we had a turnover, we had a new parts manager, I had a general manager going, I need some help. I don't know what to do. And I just kind of put out into the universe. I said, I need parts help. I don't even know what that necessarily looks like, but I need some help. And they're brought in Kaylee and PartsEdge. And one of the fun things that has come from that is really it has helped us learn how parts actually work, how to be more efficient. My general managers now have a better understanding as a whole on the ins and outs of parts, and even the words like obsolescence and stuff like that can take time to learn. So they have become more efficient inside the store, and efficiency goes a lot bigger. That sounds like just a buzzword in some cases, but one of the big things about efficiency is that if you have parts sitting on your shelf, it's not just the fact that they're sitting there not making money. It also means you can't put parts in their place. So
Mhm.
now when we think about, we're in a world where customers want things done right away, we have to get recalls done. And so that customer comes in, they want to get the recall done right away. Now I don't have the part, so I got to go get the part. So it's this understanding that um, your parts department is integral in absolutely everything. And then now add to it used cars, right? Think about that. We're back in the business of selling used cars.
All
So,
day.
so recon has to be done. What is necessary to get recon done?
Need the parts.
You need the parts. So everything kind of starts and stops with parts. And so it's about getting them the support that they need to do their job more effectively and efficiently. That will actually sprinkle and help every single department in the dealership make more money.
Well, I love the fact that you mentioned, that from a general manager seat, you don't have to understand how to pull a parts. You potentially don't have to now understand how to pull a parts statement from the DMS and look deeply into this like multi-line massive thing, right? You now have a dashboard that can tell you exactly where you're at, where the department is at, like what's the obsolescence, what's the good stock, it's like, I mean, Kaylee, would you kind of describe it like a VAuto or a VinQ, but for the parts department almost?
Yeah, we've been compared, and we're not quite there with a dashboard, so I don't want anyone to think like we have a dashboard.
That's fair. That's fair.
That is in the works, but the way that we display the inventory and show like on a spreadsheet PDF showing like where the inventory is at, it's very similar in the sense of like, this is what's making you money, this is what's heading toward obsolescence, and just getting the one thing I found out too from talking to a recent customer or client was, he was like, it was great because my controller and parts were able to get on the same page. Like that's the biggest thing. They don't speak the same language, but by us presenting the information that we do, they're able to say, this is actually what is obsolescence, and this is what's heading, and all the different metrics. So,
do you think? So, April, you were talking about the things, the mindset that I think a lot of people might not have in the back of the house, but in the front of the house, it's very clear mindset. Whereas, like, if you have a car in that spot, you have to make sure it's one that you can sell, so you can put another car in the spot, ring the cash register again, right, and go through the whole process. But you just said to think about your parts in that way, right? You have a finite amount of shelf space. You have a finite amount of resources, like money, right? If it's tied up in this, it's tied up in that. So when you approach it that way, like that just opened my mind to another way of thinking about it, where the front of the house and the back of the house can like very easily understand, right? Like that space and that thing in that space is an investment, and how many times can we turn that investment? Do you really approach it that way at Horne?
100%, because in order for general managers to understand things, I need to explain it to them in ways that they understand. So even when I first started explaining internet process, right, I had to equate it everything to the retail department, right? So, do you just want a click or do you want a conversion? Well, you want a conversion because a conversion is like the shaking of the hand. You don't just want somebody who drives by your dealership and waves at you. You want somebody that gets out of the car. So I've always had to explain things in a way that they can understand from their day to day. So I try to put myself in their shoes and explain it that way. And for me, when I first talked to PartsEdge and Kaylee, I was like, that was my aha. I was like, oh, well, yeah, that totally makes sense. We order vehicles based on what we're going to turn, right? So turn rate, flooring, all those things, that's all the same things in parts, just with parts instead of vehicles. It's all the same thought process, right? You don't want to spend interest for vehicles sitting on your lot. Well, you also don't want to spend interest for parts sitting on a shelf.
Exactly.
I have a
Right. It's
question.
stand that up. Go ahead.
And then this might be a stupid question, and because I'm not from the front, really. So when
That means it's a great question. Because you're genuinely curious.
I'm curious. So when the OEMs suggest what to stock, they suggest what to stock, right, for new cars and
A lot, yes.
yeah.
Yep.
So I think that's comparable to what they do to dealerships with their auto stock replenishment programs. And so my question is, do dealers rely solely on those suggestions when it comes to the new cars, or do they look at data to make more of a decision based on their market?
Well, I'm going to give you a great answer, Kaylee.
That's a great question, though.
A great question, but it's also going to lead into the need for something like PartsEdge again, because we only have so much flexibility on how much we can go outside of what the OEM wants us to take. However, the more parts I sell, the more capability I have to say, here, OEM, I don't want this. I can send more back when I take more. If I take more that turns faster, then I can give back more that doesn't. So in order for me to truly be efficient on that new car part, I actually need to sell more parts to be able to say, never mind, I don't want these things. Please don't put that on every single one of my new cars. And they'll let me do it because I'm selling enough parts. But it's part of the contractual obligation with the OEM. We have to sell so much. So a lot of times they'll shove that stuff on there because you're not selling enough. But if you do a good job on the other side, then you can control that a lot better.
And that's the same thing that happens on the variable side. It's like, hey, if you're crushing it, you're selling 600 new cars and you're always beating your market share numbers, and your penetration numbers are on point, and you're over 100% in your penetration numbers, like, you can tell the regional manager, nope, I'm not taking those cars, right? And I'm sure it's the same in parts. So if you're exposing that level of data, or that ability to kind of like use the data to say, yep, no, I want that stuff and not that stuff, It's a
Correct.
huge deal for inventory management.
Well, and
Yep.
just one of the other things with the OEM inventory management, and I'll wrap it up with this, is when they do it from their perspective, it is similar to cars as well. So if you give me 100 white cars and then you say, well, I'm only going to give you white cars because that's what you sell, well, but that's what you gave me. So that's part of the problem sometimes when we look at managing inventory, and the same thing happens in parts. Well, if you gave me these parts, is that what I'm selling because that's what you gave me, or is that what I'm selling because that's what the need is for my customer? So that can be different, and PartsEdge does take things to that next level to help kind of bring that in a little bit better, so that you're not just going based on, well, here's what we think you're selling based on the whole, but more based on the dealership and what's in your market, your customer, and what you need to turn.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Well,
That's awesome.
listen, Kaylee, what is the best way if there are some parts managers or general managers hearing this and saying, like, this sounds good, I think I can get some more efficiency, I understand a little bit more, I want to take a step. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
So they can reach out to me just by cell phone, email, LinkedIn, at any way that you want to reach out.
If you want to say what
I'm
it is on
available.
here so they can have it right
Oh,
here, what's the email? Let
yeah.
them
So
know.
my email is my first and last name with a period in the middle at partsedge.com. And then 619-820-8189 is my phone number. You can find me on LinkedIn.
Here's my fax number.
Yeah.
Here's my WhatsApp. Yeah.
Here's
I
my
love it.
address.
That's
I
awesome.
love it.
Well, Kaylee, April, thank you so much. It's really cool to kind of peel back the curtain. A lot of people, Kaylee, know you, like Paul said, again, from the podcasting and the engagement through social media. But it's great to hear exactly how your product is solving a pain point for parts managers and dealers. And April, thanks for sharing the dealer perspective on that. And yeah, it's been a great conversation.
Thank you, guys.